Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of Think Business. Looking forward to talking to Matt Mosher. Matt, good morning. I hope you're, or not good morning. I keep on saying good morning all afternoon this week. I don't know why, but thanks for taking time to be on the podcast today. I appreciate it. Quick background on you: President and CEO of Mosher Design Co, as well as Designly.com. And looking forward to kind of diving in and just talking to you about not only business, but entrepreneurship. You know, you are a lifelong entrepreneur. You started your first company when you were 15. You've been self-employed ever since. And, I think people right now want to really understand what the mind of an entrepreneur is, because I think we're starting to see more entrepreneurs pop up than ever before. And so let's dive in there a little bit. What does it take to be an entrepreneur today, as we're recording this January 20th, 2022? What does it mean to be an entrepreneur today?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on, John. It's, being an entrepreneur since I've been 15, I've been able to see the different cycles through whether it's economic times or whether what we're dealing with now in COVID. And entrepreneurship is in all times, it's about trying to seek out where there's an opportunity and then figuring out how to capitalize on it. And it just depends on the times that we're dealing with. When you have maybe an economic depression, there's opportunities that are relevant then compared to opportunities like COVID. And then you deal with, obviously, the whole thing of how do you deal with an unexpected thing that comes up, such as COVID, whether that is a huge driver of your business or whether it puts your business in a depression. So being an entrepreneur it's kind of a whirlwind, and you got to be able to handle the different ups and downs and the emotions that come with it.
Yeah. And so let's talk about that, because, there's right now we're seeing the big quit, the great resignation. We're seeing many people switch jobs, and we're seeing many people start their own companies. And the roller coaster ups and downs, I think one of the keys is, how do you kind of find neutral, right? How do you find center, right, so you can keep on moving forward? Because entrepreneurship is not an easy thing, but I think it's something that people are craving more now than ever. And so what's your secret? How do you kind of find the neutral space? How do you recalibrate, I guess is what I'm asking, to kind of, okay, that happened. It's a down. I dealt with it. Okay, recalibrate. Now I'm centered, ready to go.
So there's two things. There's one saying that my dad, who's an entrepreneur as well, always told me, and he said, Matt, just remember, it's never as bad as it seems, and it's never as good as it seems. So you have to balance. When something really great happens, you have to keep yourself level to realize that that's not going to happen every day, and same with the bad stuff. So that's one thing I always think about. But then it's all about I'm an end goal thinker.
Yeah.
So I realize that I'm going to hit a lot of roadblocks on the way to that. And so I'm always, when I hit a roadblock, I'm always saying, okay, but I got to do this in order to get to that end goal. And end goals can be a lot of different things. But I try to look further out and then deal with the day to day in an effort to slowly, incrementally get to that end goal.
Yeah. I just want to comment on your dad's advice, because I love it. I love it because, it's kind of gives you the zinger. You think it's like, hey, nothing's ever as bad as it seems, but nothing's ever as good as it seems, because it really checks your ego as far as humility goes, to really just kind of ground yourself and check yourself as to, I think the question that I think people should be asking themselves right now: what can we do better? How can we do better? Right. To me, it's like, there's so many people looking at things and, how can that mousetrap be a better mousetrap? How can we do that? So when you look at things, and I love how you talk about, because I'm on the same page, I talk about thinking big, and thinking big being, the small things you do every day to get to the big, right? It's not doing big every day. It's small every day that compound over time. And so my question to you is, as you're moving slowly, right, to do the things that you need to get to what's at the end, How have you, as an entrepreneur, known the right time and then taken action on when to pivot?
Well, that's always a tough one, right? Is I think you learn when that action needs to be taken. The more experience you have, um, but I think in the beginning, if I'm thinking about this out loud, is you take an action because something drastic happens. You've let something get to a point where it's either gotten so bad or so good that you're forced to take an action. But as you mature in your entrepreneurship and your ability to foresee things better, you learn when to take action sooner. Hey, and when you have more employees, you can judge them against each other to see if they're hitting the goals. So, I think actions are taking actions. A lot of it is learned over time from previous mistakes. But you have to really try to say, okay, what I'm doing now, is this sustainable? Is it going to help me reach that end goal? Or
Yeah.
am I just going to keep hitting the same roadblock?
Yeah.
And, that's how you have to try to think about it.
Yeah. 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 I love it. Those are great. I love what you're talking about for reasons, because it's so simple, it's complicated, right? But
Right.
let's talk a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about your businesses. As an entrepreneur, what I would like to talk about today is, you have your companies, Designly, which is DZINLY.com, and then we have Mosher Design Company, landscape architecture. Let's talk about Designly for a moment, because I think the concept is so great. Talk a little bit about how you're kind of bringing this virtual experience to life.
Well, the one thing you learn as an entrepreneur over time is you start to see where there are pitfalls or where there are opportunities in industries that you have a lot of experience in. So the Designly is really a culmination of 20 plus years of being in the architectural world and understanding how people make decisions on their homes and different aspects of their life. So the I don't know if it's a problem or not, but what we're solving is that design overall is still kind of an archaic industry, and the fact that it hasn't really been disrupted by technology. So if you're going to design your home or you're going to do whatever, you're either going to do it yourself, you're going to go to Home Depot and you're going to try to figure out the colors or the materials, or you're going to hire a designer. And if you're going to hire a designer, you're going to hire somebody local that that you trust. But to this point, there's never been really the ability to access designers from all over the country that might have really good ideas. So two things. We know as people that it's causes a lot of anxiety to make choices for the most expensive investment in your life, which is your home. So painting the outside of your home, or whether to put shutters on or whatever, even though it seems easy, it's a very stressful choice when you don't have experience in it. And second of all, you have a limited market of who you can use to if you don't want to try to do it yourself, who you can use to help you. It's limited, it's expensive. So what we did is, based on this knowledge of learning this over the years, is we provided a platform that people can go on, take a picture of their home or upload their plans, and then we have a whole network of designers that provides ideas for your home. And then as soon as you get an idea you like, our technology shows you exactly what that'll look like on your home within 24 hours, so that you can say, okay, I like how that looks. That's what I'm going to do to my house. And it takes away the anxiety, and it takes away the cost of making a costly mistake of actually doing something you don't like.
It's great, right? And it's, as far as the packages from an investment standpoint, it's pretty economical for people.
Right. And that's the other thing is, you hire a designer to come into your house, you're going to pay, $1,000+ and many times way more than that. So we've provided a way, because we're able to do things in a more efficient manner to where it's
Yeah.
really affordable to the homeowner.
Yeah. Kudos to you for finding, I think so many times people are looking for that sliver of business that, a solution can bring to a consumer and bring a ton of value. So I love what you've done. So my question to you is, having the idea and executing on the idea are two different things. And I think today, a lot of times people are having a lot of good ideas, but they don't know that first step of execution, right? So it's like, okay, I had this idea, and here's, like, as you were saying, the end of the idea could be, but I think a lot of people then are scared to take that first step. What's the first step as an entrepreneur since you've been 15 that you would give an entrepreneur today?
Well, the first step is, if you believe in something, you have to realize that other people probably do not have the same vision as you. So you're going to immediately run into people that question it. And so the first step is, if there's something you believe in, go after it, but figure out what it's going to take to go after it, what the opportunity is. Is it an industry that's going to drive the result that you want, whether that's monetary, whether
Yeah.
that's some type of philanthropic effort? So having the passion and then evaluating the opportunity to make sure that it's going to do what you want it to in the end goal. So it's always fun thinking of an idea and saying, "Oh, I'm going to build this clothing company and doing this," but what's the end goal there? Is it that you want to build it because you just want to have a hobby, or do you want to
Right.
build it because you want it to be a super successful company? And from there, then you can take the steps to start getting toward that end goal. And it takes a long time in most cases to get there. But you got to evaluate those two things. And then once you decide that there's an opportunity and that you've got an idea that you're passionate about, don't let people get in your way, because you're going to get 90% of what you're going to get is, "Oh, that's too hard," or, "Oh, I don't think that's a good idea," or whatever. They're going to beat you down. And if you look at any great entrepreneur, they'll tell you 100 times over that they had so many naysayers and they still made it because they didn't give up, and they focused on their vision and their end goal.
Yeah. And I'll add one thing to that, which is just a knowing, right? That gut. Of course, you want to make sure that you have a product that somebody will pay for, a consumer. But I think there's like a knowing that when don't doubt yourself, right? And so
Right.
that intuitive gut knowing, I think sometimes people can be influenced away from it, and that's what I would add to that, which I think you have. I just wanted to kind of layer that in. Let's talk about your other company, Mosher Design Co. Landscape architecture. The work that you do is spectacular. Um, Tell us a little bit about this business and the evolution of this business. Since it started, and specifically the last 2 years, where I think many people have taken a new appreciation for their homes and what they want, their surroundings to look like.
Right. Well, ever since I've been young, I've always been an environment person, meaning that I enjoy being around environments that are pleasing to my eye, and just comfort levels, whether it's lighting levels or whatever. So landscape was always something that I loved. I was always having a little fish pond or whatever it might be in my parents' backyard. And so when I was that company started when I was 17. But again, like I was talking about, my last statement is, I decided I was going to start a company, and I knew that one day, and I gave myself like a 3-year goal, that I was going to be working on $1 million homes, and I could see it in my head,
Mm-hmm.
and I just had to figure out how to get there. One, I had to learn how to design. I had to learn how to run a company. I had to learn a lot of things to get there, but I saw it in my head, and I also knew that I was going to have to convince a lot of people, because I was really young, that I could do the job. So I figured out all the different ways in order to make that goal happen over time. And in a pretty short order, because of how determined I was and some of the natural ability I had to do things, is
Yeah.
it became a quite a successful company. And over the years, it's evolved, and now we've been fortunate to do projects literally all over the world.
Right.
So it's been cool. But again, just focusing on that vision. If you notice from my Mosher Design Company, we only do high-end residential. We're laser focused. We don't start veering out of our specialty. You know, you're not going to see us doing, strip malls and things like that. This is what we focus on,
Yeah.
and we try to be very, very good at it. And I think that's another thing as an entrepreneur is very easy to get pulled in a lot of different directions because people say, "Oh, can you come do this or you do this?" It's really easy to say yes and really hard to say no.
Yeah.
And you got to keep that focus and say, nope, that's not part of my vision, or it is, even if there's sometimes decent money involved.
You know, you bring up something really important, which is keeping your vision, front and center, not only for yourself, but your company. You know, as a business coach, Matt, and I see this happening a lot. I work with companies all over the world, from solopreneurs to Fortune companies and everything in between. And I find that most companies don't keep their vision in front of their team, their companies, their people as much as they should. And everybody needs that constant reminder of what the vision is so they can feel more connected to the vision and know and understand a lot of the things that that happen throughout the days and the weeks. How do you keep your vision in front of in front of yourself and your team to give you and your team the reminders they need of staying focused?
It's actually an excellent point. And over the years, I've learned that that's so important because as a young entrepreneur, you keep the vision in your head and you just believe that the people around you understand what you're trying to do. But
Correct.
now as a more mature entrepreneur, I remind my teams probably once a month. If we do a team meeting or whatever, I say, okay, this is where we're going with things. This is why we're going with things. And then, hey, what input do you have? Do you guys feel, because it's your team is gonna get you there. And so you want to see how they feel too. Do they have ideas? Do they think that your idea is good? And
Right.
try to, listen to them. And I think that's really, really important. But I continue to reiterate vision very frequently to all my teams. So one, they have a trust level that I have a good vision, and two, they can understand where we're going with things, and three, they can position themselves to help execute on that overall vision.
Yeah. I love it. Matt, you do spectacular work. This is, for many, this has been a mini master's class, right? Because what you talked about, as far as the DNA of an entrepreneur, I think was spot on. Quick speed round. You ready?
Ready.
All right. Recent favorite book?
Gosh, it's more podcast, How I Built This.
Yeah. Oh, good.
By
Such
Guy
a good one.
Raz.
Yeah. Any episode that sticks out?
I'm a fan of Stitch Fix. I can't remember her exact name. I just think her tenacity was amazing. It was one of those stories where you don't have to know an industry super well. If you have passion, you can make it happen. It's like myself. I thought Minted was a good one. There's a number of good ones on there.
Yeah.
They're all great.
That's a great podcast, and it's a great book.
Right.
Yeah. You gave a great piece of wisdom that your dad gave you earlier, right? It's never as bad, it's never as good. Any other piece of advice or wisdom that you've gotten that's kind of, helped you through the years?
I think the biggest thing, and my dad, my grandfather taught me this, is try to stay humble, because you hit some success and it's really easy to get an ego, even if you're not trying too hard. Don't it seems to get you much further in life, and you're more respected if you can stay humble. And that'd be my other one to think.
I would agree. Humility is great. Last question. One mindset trick or a piece of advice for the entrepreneur who's having the beginning entrepreneur who's having a bad day or week.
If you're having a bad day or week, because again, it can always seem worse than it really is try to go do something that you really enjoy doing, whether it's taking a walk or fishing or playing tennis or whatever it might be, to help get your mind off of it a little bit, and then sleep on it and wake up the next morning and reflect to see if it's as bad as you think.
Yeah.
And then also what I like to do if there's something that's bad is look back at my last bad situation and see how it ended up. And what I always find is that I've always solved that issue.
Yeah.
So, okay, I'm going to solve it just like I did last time. And look, it's fine now.
Yeah. Good advice. Matt, tell everybody where they can connect with you and learn more about your businesses.
You can connect with me on LinkedIn, Matthew Mosher, and my visual business stuff is on Instagram, Mosher_design. And then our website's designly.com and MosherDesignCo.com.
All right. Matt, I appreciate you taking time to be on the show today. Always enjoy connecting, talking, and learning from you. I just want to highlight a couple things. Humility, the right mindset, listen to, follow your, stay on vision, follow your vision, listen to your gut. And I'll end with your dad's advice. It's never as bad as it seems, and it's never as good as it seems. I love that. Thanks for taking time to share today. Think community. If Matt can help you out, check it out. All of his contact information will also be in show notes. Have an amazing day, everybody. Matt, thanks again.
Thank you, John.